Welcome to the Chapter 1 podcast, your inside look at the people powering Charlotte's business scene. Real businesses, real stories right here in the Queen City. Today we have Ty Martin with Keller Williams, and we'll find out pretty quickly that that's not all Ty does. He's not just a commercial real estate broker, but we're going to be getting into all that. So Ty, we're happy to have you on the show, and let's start at Chapter 1. What brought you to the Queen City?
Yeah, man, super pumped to be here. Appreciate you guys. First and foremost, just this move has been everything. I'm so happy to be down here. I'm from Philadelphia, just outside of Philly. I worked on a commercial real estate lease down here in Mooresville, a town I never heard of. Couldn't even have put it on a map, to be honest with you. I had no idea where in the state it was. But actually, after we finished that deal, that was last June, I stayed in touch with my client, and we were down in Greenville, North Carolina last December, and we just drove on over. After that, one thing led to another. We moved here. It's just been great, man.
That's wild, man, because I feel like the majority of people I talk to are moving down from like the north, but they had like this clear-cut plan. Yeah. And I remember when I first met you that you were just like, I didn't even know where, like I came here, like when you talked about that first job you had, and you're like, I didn't know what the town was. I just drove into it, and then I just kept driving and kind of found Charlotte. And I feel like that's not typically the way it happens. But so growing up in or near Philly at least, what was that like? I mean, how did you get into? I know it kind of started young for you. The whole entrepreneurial bug kind of bit you young, but what was that like in Philly?
So Philly's it's a gritty city. You know, people say that. It really is. I would say that one thing I really love about where I came from is people are working hard. A lot of blue collar people there that are just grinding, you know, and they live for the weekends watching the birds and watching all the different sports teams in Philly. What I really recognized early on was that if you work hard in anything in that area, you'll succeed no matter if it's blue collar or white collar. Yeah. For me, I started my first business when I was 17. I think I told you that, giving lacrosse lessons. That leads into another thing and another thing. But I think Philly kind of molded me into who I am and just a hustler. But some of the bad traits, I guess, I didn't carry with me, right?
Those are okay. We all have those from originally from Miami, and there's a lot of left there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's a good thing.
Exactly.
So you started obviously in just kind of entrepreneurial spirit, going around like you said the lacrosse thing, and we'll get back into that. But you find your way eventually into what you're doing now with Keller Williams. Yeah. How did that journey happen? Like, how did you go from that to being like, and now I'm going to go into commercial real estate?
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy. So my first job out of college, they were paying for my master's at St. Joe's in Philly. I was making that drive from South Jersey to Philly through the city out to basically like the suburbs to where St. Joe's is. And when I was making that drive, I remember just driving through the city, looking at the big buildings, being like, man, like there's something more for me than what I was doing at the time. Now, I was going for my real estate license already, but I thought I was going to do residential, help investors, invest in some stuff myself. And one of my classes had gotten canceled. I went into a speed networking thing at a round table like we're at, met a guy who was a commercial real estate broker, and he just got me so amped on the idea. I remember that night calling my dad and being like, I'm getting out of fleet management, which is what I was in. I'm going fully into commercial real estate when I get this license.
That's wild.
Crazy, right?
So you started over there. Like it starts when you're in Philly.
Yep.
What were those early stages like? Because I think for a lot of people, a lot of people I don't think realize that as especially as a commercial real estate person, you're effectively just an entrepreneur. Like you've got it's. I think some people have this envisionment that that's different, but in reality, you're your own business owner.
Totally.
What were those early stages like? How did you market yourself? What was networking looking like? How did you grow?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just know how to talk to people. That's always been my favorite thing. Like at the end of the day, if the whole world was on fire, I know I can sit down like this and talk to someone. My voice might not work so well, but besides that was always, my mindset was I could always have a conversation with someone and always lead with how I could help them. So that, starting off was how I marketed myself, just being the person with answers. I didn't know everything about commercial real estate, but if someone needed anything as it pertained to real estate, I wanted them to call me. That's how the early days looked. As I started to kind of sharpen my skills a little bit more, I realized that the commercial real estate game is pretty simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. If you just make calls and you're out and about and you're meeting people and you know what your value proposition is, you will start to close business over time. It takes time. Obviously, year 3 is when you start to see it, but it will happen if you just do the things that work.
And so did marketing change over those years? Like when you just talking about specifically like marketing, whatever that looks like, whether it's networking or doing like things digitally, How did that evolve at all? Was it just the same things and kind of grinding away at it and eventually kind of caught?
I think that social media has been huge, man. I mean, LinkedIn, it's funny. Someone recently just said to me, like, I'm a LinkedIn influencer, which I hated hearing. I honestly hated
I didn't
hearing
know that. That's
right?
awesome.
Well, I post on it every day. I just
Okay.
post my thoughts. It's nothing crazy. It's like, a couple days ago, I said, I met with a student athlete and she had said, I will not fail. I know I'll be successful. Some people have never said that out loud to themselves. I post stuff like that. But what I realized is over time, if you sprinkle in your knowledge in the business with things like that are just super relatable, you start to grow your presence. And then when I make a cold call to someone who I already have added on LinkedIn, it's warmer. It's so much warmer. So it's less marketing so that leads come inbound. It's more making, the world I'm about to call into aware of who I am through just spitting facts. I mean, that's all I do. I just talk about what's on my mind.
We talk about that all the time as far as like if marketing is outreach and pulling people in, then branding is what they're being greeted with once they come and meet you digitally. And
200%.
It feels like that building of your brand is yielded a lot of good fruit. So over these years of because I mean that's changed a lot for you again, starting in Philly, commercial real estate, becoming very successful, moving here and continuing with that, now having a large team. Do you have any like stories that you could share? I mean, I know the answer is yes because I've already heard a few of your stories. But like, what were some of the things that you get into being a commercial real estate broker in that world for this long?
I'll tell you my favorite one. I actually told it yesterday in a networking group that I'm in. But this is, if I had to go back to the first year in the business, this is the only thing I think about that I had to do. So before the pandemic, it was a lot different in Philadelphia with the security in these high-rise buildings. So I represent office tenants. I try to get in touch with tenants to help them with their leases. So when you think of a building directory of a skyscraper, all the tenants in there, all those business names are names I want to see, are businesses I want to call. So what I would do is I would get off the train, I would walk in the crazy Philly, basically rat race traffic, right? I'm like walking with people, and there used to be no security guards, but there would just be a turnstile to go through to get to the elevator bank. And you used to actually not have to scan your badge to get up to a certain floor. Once you were in, you could just press a button on the elevator. So I would kind of like butt up next to someone and sneak through that turnstile. Like you'd follow someone through a toll if you forgot your cash. Hate to say that anyone's ever done that. But anyway, I would then hit the top floor, let's say, 36. Everyone would get off the elevator on their floors. And then once I was at 36, I would pull like out of Elf. I would hit every button. I would get off on every floor, take a picture of the directory, get back in. Get off on every floor, and then I would just go back and I would cold call these office tenants and say, "Hey, I was just in your building. I'm not lying. I wasn't there. I wasn't there doing
technically lying.
I wasn't there doing business. I was there stalking your company name. Like that's what I was doing. But yeah, that was kind of one of my favorite stories when I think about the start of the business.
That's wild, man. So. For and again, I'm holding back from getting into all the other things you do because we're definitely going to get into that. But about this specifically, real estate, if you had to pick something that you love most about it, like does something specific jump out to you as far as just your entire experience with it?
Yeah, I'll tell you without a doubt, and I think it's really based on where I choose to practice my real estate as far as like our team that we've built.
Sure.
I can actually say what's on my mind in this business. A lot of other sales careers, especially when you're working for a salary plus commission, even if it's that structure, you kind of are stuck in a box as far as how creative you can be and how much you can really be yourself.
Yeah.
This morning I was texting my guys, like a client had to get a little slap on the hand, like don't talk to us like that. And we're not going to sit there and just kind of, how do I put this, roll over for someone just because, they're our client. At the end of the day, I love this business because you can actually, basically be yourself and you're going to decide if you're going to be, treated a certain type of way. And if you lose that business based on it, that's your call to make because you're an entrepreneur, like you said.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. And that's why I love it.
That's awesome. So what does that process look like a lot of the times? I guess for me, I think commercial real estate and I'm just like, okay, you're involved in some way of like, hey, somebody's like, hey, I want a place to plant my business or I want some kind of commercial location.
Yep.
And you're like, I'm going to find it and then give it to you. Like, what does the process look like to somebody that may be outside that world?
That's honestly it. Like I said, it's very simple. It just comes down to, once we have that space that you're interested in, right? That's when our work really starts. Our value's not in like identifying a space and sending you, floor plans.
Yeah.
That's paper pushing. That's part of it. But once you say that you want that space, you're like, hey, that building's the building for us. Well, we're going to use the 4 other ones that aren't your right choice as leverage, right? So we're going to go out to the market. We're going to play the same game with the building that you like, the A choice, B choice, C choice, and D choice, pin them all against each other, right? And then ultimately try to negotiate you the lowest rent, the best terms as far as the shortest amount of length that we can get you on the lowest rent, right? It's a give and take. Tenant improvement allowance, to fit out your space, whether you need, conference rooms built out or whatever it is, paint carpet, that's the easy stuff. And then a bunch of other terms. But that's where our job really lives. It's getting you the best deal economically and then all the tenant-friendly terms before we move to a lease. That's the world that we negotiate in.
What's it like trying to stand out in a world like that? Because I imagine if you're commercial real estate broker, there's another guy next to you, hey, commercial real estate broker. Yep. For you guys, it's probably hard to be like, how am I different than this guy over here? Like what is it that I can offer that maybe he can't? And what is that for you guys and your team? 2
acronyms, ATP and RTFL. ATP, answer the phone, right? Because that's the biggest thing that we can control. We can control how responsive we are. I can't control where some deals are going to go. I can do as much as I think is possible and, work my tail off on that. But ATP, I'll always answer your call. I don't care if it's Tuesday at 9 p.m., call me. I don't care if it's 6 a.m. the next morning, call me. Mm-hmm. That's the first one. And RTFL, read the freaking lease, because I'll tell you as a broker, I negotiated all these terms. I'm not then going, okay, attorney's time, he's going to worry about the lease. I'll take that first draft, compare the lease draft against what I negotiated in the letter of intent, and really give the attorney and my client some concise notes to start that next process. So that's my differentiator, those two things.
And you feel like, maybe just to ask this in a different way too, like are people out there that aren't doing a good job of this, what does that look like? Does it not look like the things you say? So is everybody not doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, it's so funny the amount of times I'll get an inbound lead, and I'll be like, hello, this is Ty. And I'll literally hear someone say, oh my God, someone finally answered the phone. And I laugh at that.
It's got to feel great.
I laugh at that because I'll answer every single call that comes in. I don't care what it is. Even if I have an idea that it might be spam, it says spam likely, I'm answering every call. Because definitely over 5 times in my career, a completely random call turned into one of my top 5 biggest deals of my year.
Wow.
So think about that. Like my 4th year in the business, the biggest deal I ever closed up until that point in my life came off of a call I got off of the internet. You got to answer the phone.
That's wild.
Yep.
So if you had the ability to kind of like rewind in time and talk to young Ty, right, and to say, hey, this is some advice, dude. Like this is what it's going to be like. What would you give to that person that might be watching, or to past you? What's some advice to a young business owner?
So I actually just gave this to one of the guys who joined my team. He's brand new in commercial real estate, and we were going through his calendar. And I saw at 9 o'clock, he had like something there about like stocks. I said, well, what's that block on your calendar at 9 p.m.? He's like, oh, well, that's when I look at the market. I'm in this trading course online. I said, dude, you got to master the first thing before you even think about the second thing. And that's not your side job. Like he's driving DoorDash too, getting started. That's fine with the DoorDash stuff. But why are you educating yourself in a whole other realm of business and finance right now when your job is to close a lot of commercial real estate deals? And that's what you need to do to survive in the business. So young me, I'd say focus on the first thing, right? You don't have to worry about building the other businesses until you're making, the income and have the support and the team that you really want for the first thing. So that's what I would tell myself.
So now let's get into those other things. So I know that like it's funny because I know that that commercial real estate is your backbone kind of like this is how you started things.
Oh, yeah.
But in reality, you're so passionate about a lot of other things that I'm excited to start talking about. So I'm gonna let you tell us, just because I know you have so many. What are some of the other things that you're getting into right now?
Yeah, I'll touch on 2 because I could go all day about that. But my 2 main things I'm working on outside of commercial real estate is I'm relaunching my coffee company that I had 2 buddies that started. I bought into it. We now have another partner. We're relaunching it. It's called Bang Beans Coffee. We moved all of our roasting operations from California here to Charlotte, which is awesome. So now we control a lot more of our product, right? We're actually going to get hands on the product versus, before it was almost drop shipped. You order a bag of coffee, I'm never even seeing it.
Yeah.
Right? Now, not only did our margins increase and quality of coffee increase, but now it's as easy as if you guys wanted coffee this morning, I would have brought 2 bags over. Versus like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is silly. But then we're also rebranding everything. Like the fact that I hadn't done this prior, maybe that's because I didn't end up in the Queen City yet. Like there was not a good option for me back home to do it. So that's the first one. Second one, I'm dripping out in it right now from the freaking Yeti to the hat to the
we love that, man. We love that.
It's a clothing brand I started with my buddy Clayton. It's called Nightclubs Suck. I will tell you guys, of everything I've ever worked on, this is my favorite creative outlet I've ever had. I mean, I jokingly say, like, some people play video games. You know, this for me has been my thing. You know, how do I build this e-commerce clothing brand for endurance athletes and triathletes, and just make it as big as possible? And for me, it's awesome because something like this, there's never going to be a ceiling. I can't ever. The game doesn't stop. You know, it can only keep growing, and that's the part about it that I really, really love.
So, so tell people a little bit more about Nightclub Sucks specifically, just because this is already something that I've talked to you about, and I know you're passionate about, and I see all the stuff online. What kind of stuff do you guys do? If somebody didn't know what Nightclub Suck was and why you named it that, tell us a little bit more about that.
So for me, I had the name of the brand for a while. I didn't know exactly what I wanted it to be. At first, I was thinking more like outdoorsy, LL Bean, Patagonia type of brand, because I love all that stuff. I love the hike, ski, all that. And then once I started getting into triathlon, I actually gave up drinking for no reason other than it was making it harder to train for triathlon. And during that time, I already had the name Nightclub Suck. I'm like, wait a second, that's such a perfect name for an endurance athletes brand, because your training starts the night before. You're not out at the club till 2 a.m. and then waking up at 4 and trying to, go train for an Ironman. So that's where it started to come together. My wife, Nicole, actually came up with the idea for the logo. At first, it was just the word nightclubs with a big red X through it. And then we just decided that, hey, we'll have a logo that says Nightclubs Suck, and then we'll just have a separate logo that's this big red X. And that's where that came from. But our whole goal was to create the most functional gear to train in that also looks awesome, that also, on top of both those things, has a greater community and purpose around it. People supporting other people as they're training for their races, Friday night run clubs, doing something different with your weekend, all of that. So that's really the ethos of the brand.
How do you get into something like a brand creation? Because for me, I mean, I own a video production company. Like that's kind of been my passion for a long time. But the thought of, I mean, there are always the ideas that float around my head, like, oh, I could sell this shirt or whatever. Like our shirts are popular. We have a brand that's just it's the play button, and people tend to love that.
Yeah, I do like it.
And I've been like, man, is there some way to leverage selling that? And so how do you get into that? What does it look like? How do you market this from because it's a completely different thing from commercial real estate. I mean, you're now, selling clothing, and it's a whole think thing. So what is that like?
Yeah. What I'll tell people is it is so much harder than people think it is. Dude, of everything I've ever worked on, this is by far the most challenging. Okay, first and foremost, let's talk about minimum order quantities, right? You're not just getting into this to dip your toe.
Yeah.
I have 7,000 units in my garage right now until we move into this new building. Like, first and
When
foremost,
you say you're dripped out, man, like
yeah,
you're going to be wearing this stuff forever.
Down to the long johns. But seriously, like, as I look at getting into this world, I was thinking it would be one thing, it would be a certain investment. Dude, it's already been 5 times that investment, first and foremost. And it's not even about money. I'm talking about also time, bandwidth, and also just like there's always a challenge. Oh, this product's going to be late. This one came in not as we wanted it. The sample's bad. The colors are bleeding. Like, there's just so much, right? So that's the first thing, is it's way, way, way harder than I anticipated. I do love it. The second thing I will tell you is your return is not what people think it is from the jump.
Yeah.
To give you an example, I've grinded for, we've had product for 138 days. I write it down every single day, like from when we launched to now. Yeah, 138 this morning. So 138 days since we went live. With that, we've sold close to 600 products on 320 or 330 or so orders. All of that to be said, that's one small commercial real estate lease for me. To say that, and the whole point is, I'm not stopping. I'm not like, okay, well, we've done our not even 1,000 orders. Like, good for us. This is the start of something that's going to be so much bigger. But again, people need to realize that the commitment to this is a big, big lift, and you're going to have to be ready to really put in a lot of time for really not that much return starting off. It's the long game.
Well, and it sounds like specifically for you, and I think this is important for other people to hear too, is that if you don't have some belief in what you're doing, like if it's purely, and I get that this is the prime motivation for most people, and it probably should be, is to make a living for yourself, but if there's not a side of it that goes, even though it's not doing great right now, I still believe in this, and like I want to see it succeed. Like, it was a success to see that we had some growth, even though that like the dollar amount that I was aiming at wasn't quite there.
Yep.
Like, that's important. I feel like if that's not there, those early stages when that happens, people just drop what they have because they're like, oh, I thought this was going to be a big cash cow.
I'm telling
it's like,
you, man.
that's good. And if you stay with it, that could still be a possibility. But if you don't also have like a deep joy and passion for what it is you're trying to build and do,
Yep.
I feel like it falls apart early.
I'll tell you that, the imposter syndrome and the I'm not a negative person, but things creep into your mind. And,
All the time,
and I'm
man.
sitting there going like, I got off a call with our new Meta and Google ad agency, and I'm leaving that call. I'm like, man, another X amount of money I have to spend, right? To keep this, not to keep this thing going. It's doing well. It's profitable. It's to get to the next level. I have to now spend more, right? And that's
the
where
way
my
it
brain
works.
goes. And right when I get off that call and I actually walked into the van, I sat down in the van to drive. I looked down. We got a Meta order. I'm like, right? Like I just had that moment like, oh man, like I have to spend more. And then an order came in within like 2 minutes from when I left my house. And those are the things that keep you going. And then, again, like it's not like this thing is not doing well. It's doing extremely well. It's doing actually better than I expected. The point is I have to keep telling myself, okay, we went from, we just got out of the batter's box. We hit the ball. It just cleared the gap. It's now in the outfield. I'm just rounding first base. And now I got to go for a double because it's looking like it's going to get between the two fielders. I'm going for a double here. Like I'm not even close to getting back to home base. So that's what I keep telling myself. It's so early. We have to keep doing what we're doing. We have to make sure we're visible. We have to make sure that everyone that's bought our product we're following up with.
Yeah.
What do you think? Are you telling your friends? Come to the Run Club. Like it's just. I actually heard a really good quote from a musician named Mod Sun. You may have heard of him, may have not. He was big years ago. He said something along the lines of, someone asked, "What do your off days look like? What's it look like being an artist? To take a day off?" And he goes, "What are you talking about? I wake up every morning. I'm on the clock.
Yeah.
I got to be engaged with my fans. I got to be writing new songs. I got to be listening back to the progress of my album. Like it never stops." That's exactly how I feel about the clothing industry. It never stops. It's like releasing an album to the world.
Yeah.
I have to plan my next 3 drops while I'm worried about this drop, and worried about UPS dropping off our late socks. Like it just never stops.
Well, so how do you balance that personal life portion? Because I know that that's been something for me that I've had to like literally put on paper of being like, Greg, this is when you can shut your brain out. Like, and this is what, because that is the correct answer, is that when you own, like, there's not really any, like if somebody calls you at any time, like that's just, that's you represent your own brand at that point. And so what does personal life look like for you as an entrepreneur? Is there a personal life outside of all the different things you're into?
No, there is. There definitely is. What I tell myself is I took my 20s and listen, I had a lot of fun in my 20s. It's not like I was a hermit. I took my 20s when a lot of people were so in the moment. I was thinking about the future. And did I maybe miss out on some things? Absolutely. Did I maybe spend some time less present than I should have been? Maybe. But now as I get into my 30s, I'm 31 now, I'm leveraged. So I don't have to be that much on call anymore. Or, if I need some help with something, I have an assistant. And I say that to say, if you put in the work in your early stages of your career, it doesn't matter what, maybe you're starting your career at 40, your entrepreneurial journey. But if you put in the work early, you do crest over. You do get to that other side of it. You do get to the point where, in commercial real estate, there are deals that I don't feel are worth my time, but I've built a team. So now I don't work on that deal. One of my teammates does. They're earning a living. They win, and I still win too. It's a win-win. Personal life now looks like I can say, you know what, guys, Friday I'm off. Friday, my wife and I are going to do X, whatever it is. Again, I've worked harder than everyone from Monday to Thursday in my mind. Yeah. So it's okay. Like that's where I feel like the game opens up a little bit.
So what's like a thing that you're excited about that hasn't necessarily happened yet? I mean, like obviously you're bringing Nightclubs Suck into the light, and you've talked kind of just briefly about, and I know that so that thing that you led with, the lacrosse thing, that's still going, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Back home.
That's so awesome. So what's something that's in the future for Ty Martin that you're kind of pumped about?
I would say, our new office that I mentioned to you guys, like that opening is going to be so cool because now I'm bringing everything into one place. So I got, the second floor of that, the mezzanine, all the real estate guys will be up there, headsets on, making cold calls, doing what we do, deal making. The downstairs, I'm going to have a whole coffee lounge. I showed you guys my old school Mercedes. So we'll have a whole coffee lounge parked around that car with these big, beautiful brown leather couches. And I'll have, a place for bang beans, right? Which is going to be really cool. On the other side, I'm going to have the van parked. I'm going to have all of our stock. Nightclub Suck is going to have a place to actually fulfill out of. And then, we're going to do our Friday Night Run Club right out of there, right out of the office. Nicole's going to DJ it. So I'm going to have this place where all of it's going to come together. Not to mention, we're going to have a studio where we're going to do stuff like this, but a lot of live selling. Upstairs, we're going to have a golf sim. We're building off that mezzanine. So I'm creating my hub. I'm creating my place where all these people that I'm doing deals with or working on businesses with or friends with can come and basically have one space. So I think for me, seeing how much that boosts everything I'm working on and just like a cool experience for me and my friends. Honestly, I just can't wait.
Dude, that's awesome.
Which, by the way, May 2nd, we're having a Kentucky Derby party. So you got to be there, both you guys.
Heck yeah, man.
All right, that's our soft opening.
What was it? I mean, before we go, the last thing I want to let you kind of plug is, do you have, I mean, it sounds like you run a lot of events. I know you do the run club, so maybe you could talk a little bit more about that. But are there, other than the run clubs, like what other stuff are you doing? Do you have stuff that you want to put out there?
Yeah, you know, right now I'm just heavy into training. Not specifically right now. I actually had a really tough month starting off the year. I got sick twice, but I think right now the biggest thing that if I had to plug or promote, it would be, you know, if you have heard of Nightclub Suck, please check out our run clubs that we're doing because we're putting them in all different cities across the country. And if you haven't heard of it, go check us out because I promise you at the very least, even if you never want to run, you know, a marathon or you never want to train for triathlon, you'll get inspired and you'll end up thinking a little bit differently about life if you follow our page. So at the very least, check us out.
Well, we're happy to have you on, Ty. Like always, love talking with you, my friend, and pumped to just see where you're going in the future. And like always, I'm Greg Prinz, and this has been the Chapter 1 Podcast.